Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So I'm back with another monitor review, and this time it's the latest and greatest gaming monitor from BenQ, their new Mobiuz series. This is the EX2710, 1000:1 contrast ratio, adaptive HDRi, blue light filter, 1 millisecond response time, and a 144 hertz refresh rate. So you can be on the cutting edge, bleeding smooth edge of technology whenever it comes to motion and playing your video games. So super cool, all for the price of $299. So before we get into all this, I do want to say though, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, I appreciate you being here. If you enjoy the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. Now let's take a look at the monitor. So the BenQ EX2710 is a really nice monitor. It's got a kind of a matte finished anti-glare screen on it. It's nice, it's lightweight. It's got the built-in 2.5 watt stereo speakers, which is nice because you can keep the speakers off the desk and go either headphone mode or just listen to it straight out of here. But you've got a nice wide angle monitor, 178-degree viewing range, which is great. So you can look at it from any angle, really. Nice Mobiuz branding on the back here. And what's really cool is you got the toggle switch and the buttons. It's really easy to switch between the different menus, the profiles, all that on the back. One display port, 2 HDMIs, and it even has a microphone out, which is nice. You've got a 100 by 100 base mount on the back if you want to use that. And then here's how you install it. Super easy. You pop the back on, put the top in, lock the bottom, easy to go. And then when it comes to the bottom, all you have to do to put the base on, pop it on just like this, and then it's got a thumb screw on the bottom. So you don't have to worry about any tools. It's really just two different things that you have to do. Anybody can install this. Nice, simple, easy, and it's not even incredibly heavy. You saw I just picked it up with one hand and placed it up on the table. And the stand is really nice on the bottom too. It's got rubberized grips on the bottom so it won't slide around. And if that's not enough, you've got the nice pivoting angles. It moves and tilts up and down, and then it pivots from side to side as well. So you can get the optimum height, optimum viewing angle, everything you want to have the best gaming experience possible. It even comes with an HDMI cable straight in the box, so you don't have to worry about that. You've got your power cable, which works out great. Plug that into the back so you can fire it up and get ready to go. And if you're bored and have nothing to do with your life, you can read the documentation if you so choose. It's also inside the box. All right, so here we are with the Mobiuz BenQ EX2710. Really, really good gaming monitor, 1080p. Like I said in the beginning, 1000:1 contrast ratio, 1 millisecond response time. It's got dual stereo speakers at 2.5 watts apiece, so you can get some nice healthy audio while you're playing. And it's got 144 hertz refresh rate. Everything you could possibly ask for in a gaming monitor if you're looking for a great rig for your 1080p setup. Now, it's not going to do Quad HD Plus, it's not going to do 4K, but that takes you to another level of expense and gaming, because to play 4K, you need a serious computer. I built a computer for my kids that runs Fortnite at 90 frames per second, cost me about 600 bucks. This one right here, yeah, I can play 4K normally with my 4K monitor, but the graphics card alone I need for that cost me $800. So if you're looking to get something that's going to give you a nice competitive edge for your 1080p gaming, to give you a really enjoyable experience, you get basically no motion blur when you play this because the 144 hertz refresh rate is great. And just to give you an example of how that works, you have two different things working together when you play games. And the best thing you want is, normally people think of frames per second. That's how many frames in 1 second that your computer will play. So if you're at 30 frames per second, it's going to look kind of choppy, or under that especially. But if you get to 60 frames per second, it looks really nice. Looking at like the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 for this generation, the goal was to get 60 frames per second across the board for the games. So that's good. Once you get to like 90, 100 frames per second, that's even better. I mean, super smooth experience because everything is being displayed on the screen so fast. But the other half of that is the refresh rate. Now, the refresh rate is how many times the screen can refresh the image per second. So if you can maximize that and get a great frames per second with a great refresh rate, then you're going to get the ultimate playing experience. You're not going to have that motion blur. So like when you're playing an action game, a driving game, if you're playing like Grand Theft Auto 5 driving around really fast, and things look kind of blurry, this will help with that. If you're playing a first-person shooter game and when you're moving the screen really fast, aiming and doing things like that, this will make it look super smooth and you won't have any blur going on with that as well. So that's where that comes into play. So 1 millisecond response time, you get instantaneous reaction between the mouse, the keyboard, and the input that's going into the game. You want a high frames per second target, and this right here is like that triad in the ultimate gaming experience. So $299, I think is a good deal. Having the built-in speakers is really nice. And let's go ahead and turn the volume up just so you can hear it. You can use the switch that's on the back. All you have to do is just press it up. So this is at max volume right now. The camera is probably about 4 feet away from the monitor, but you can hear plenty well in the background while I'm talking. One nice thing about this is you don't always have to play with headphones on. You know, you don't have to have speakers up here. You could just play and enjoy the experience, and then you can change the volume right on the fly just by pushing the toggle switch up or down. And I like this setup because you can see here on the desk there's nothing there. I've got my headphones right here, which are good. I mean, if you're gaming, you're likely using headphones, but if you're doing some homework, if you're doing actual work, if you're doing things that aren't gaming and you just don't want to have those heavy, hot, uncomfortable headphones on while you're doing some browsing or just want to listen to Spotify or watch YouTube, this is a great way to supplement that without having to go out and buy anything extra. It's right here on your desk. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is the positions. So you can move this up and down just with applying some hand pressure. You can see here I'm not really having to exert much effort at all. And then it rotates from side to side, and it has a 178-degree viewing angle because it's an IPS panel. This is really, really nice. So you get all that, and it tilts. So it tilts up and down, so you can get the ideal position for whenever you're playing your games. You can adjust it for the height that you want, and then the angles, so really, really cool there. One other nice feature, it has adaptive HDR technology. HDR is basically the contrast. You get that enhancement in the contrast, the blacks, the colors, the shadows. You can adjust it on the fly with the button. So we've got game HDR, we've got cinema HDR, we've got regular HDR, and then you can turn it off. All that with just the front button here on the front. And then if you want to get real crazy, you can turn off the monitor when you're trying to adjust the settings. So as soon as this decides to turn back on, there we go. So we can check out the additional menu settings in here. Go into the menu. Real easy to use. Just use a toggle switch. You can change the inputs. You get quick menu mode, so you can change it between standard, game, or cinema. So those are the 3 different modes. And then color mode. Color mode's really nice because you don't always want the same color profile. You can change it right here. Easy peasy. You've got HDR color profile, game HDR, cinema HDR, FPS, RPG, racing game, standard, sRGB for whenever you want to do content creation and stuff like that, and then M-Book, and then even e-paper. So you can get it in black and white mode, like it's basically a 27-inch Kindle now that you can use to read ebooks with. So there's so many different options in here. You can change the brightness and the contrast for each individual one of them. You can mess with the color vibrance. You can change the black equalizer, so you can get those optimized color profiles, change them on the fly. You don't have to worry about doing all this stuff like in the old days. Like if you go back to when I started playing video games back in the 90s on my 14-inch CRT monitor, or even in the late 90s, early 2000s, and so on, gaming has really, really evolved when it comes to playing things on PC. We can switch these profiles easily with the toggle of a switch or a push of a button instead of having to go and change everything every time we want to adjust it for a game. And you know as well as I do, if you're a gamer, that all color settings are not created equal. Sometimes you want a different color profile, a different contrast profile for different games that you're playing. Like if Resident Evil, you want it real black and dark. But if you're playing something like Fall Guys, you may not necessarily want that really dark, shadowy appearance whenever you're playing the game. So now that we've taken a look at some of this, let's look at some actual gameplay so you can get a feel for it and look and see what it looks like. And we'll turn the sound on too, and we'll do a sound test so you can see what kind of decibels we're getting out of the EX2710. All right, here we go. Time for some Fall Guys. And one other thing I want to talk about real quick, it's an anti-glare monitor. I've got tons and tons of lights in here, and you can see that on the monitor there's no reflection at all. So that's really nice, and it's especially good if you want to make content creation showing things off on your monitor and your desktop setup. So here we go. We'll go ahead and start with Fall Guys. Totally fun game, by the way. My kids actually got me into this. I had never heard of it, and they're like, "Here, Dad, play Fall Guys." So let's turn the volume all the way up and check the volume out on the sound meter. So this is max right now. And you can see pretty consistently here it's staying at about the 75 decibel mark when I'm not talking. But the speakers actually have the sound that comes out down towards the bottom. So yeah, it's a real solid, like, mid-70s decibel setup. Yeah, it's nothing insanely crazy to write home about, but what you get is the luxury of not actually having to have speakers. And like I said, if you're playing games, you're more than likely doing it with a headset anyway. That's just what we do whenever we play games. So let's go ahead and get into a game, and you can see here what it looks like, and change the HDR. See, here it's just a better example of the HDR color profiles. Put it back on game, and we're almost in a game ready to start. Yeah, so like I said, if you haven't played this game, it's a fun one. Obviously, this is not sponsored by them, and I'm not getting paid any money to say play Fall Guys, but if you like addicting games that you play over and over and over and are fun but also incredibly maddening, then this is totally the game for you. I mean, if you're a glutton for punishment and you want to keep playing and have all sorts of chaos and mayhem, but trying to get to the end of the level and see if you can win, it's a very competitive and challenging game, but it's also, it'll drive you crazy so often. So let's get into this and see what some of the gameplay actually looks like. And I turned the volume down just a little bit, so it's not going to be blaring in the background, but you'll still be able to hear it. I don't have any fancy costumes, but you can see here it just looks super smooth, especially, you know, if you're watching this on like a Samsung that's got 120 hertz refresh rate, or a OnePlus 8 phone, it'll look really good on that, and you'll kind of get a feel for kind of what you're looking at in real life, especially, you know, like if you've got a gaming monitor, you're watching this with a high refresh rate as well. But super smooth, super nice, great color profile, nice contrast ratio. It's got pretty much everything you can ask for a 1080p gaming monitor, especially for $299. I think that it's a very fair value, and I think it brings a lot to the table if you're I get hit by every single one of these things. I don't even know if I'm going to make it at this point. I'm going to try. Get out of the way, dude. And no, I didn't make it. Shoot. All right, so that was Fall Guys. Anyway, so this is just a nice look at the game. You can see as I'm falling right now and moving around, you're not really seeing a whole lot of blur, and that's one of the great things about that high refresh rate, like I talked about. It smooths all that out, and it gives you a nice, accurate picture of what's going on, because the monitor is able to keep up with what's going on in the game. So it takes out all that motion blur, makes it look nice and smooth and crispy and fancy. And like I said, when it comes to frames per second, you get the millisecond response time, and then that refresh rate is just a trifecta of awesome whenever it comes to playing video games. I hear him. Where's he at? Whoop! Found him. Down there. Gotcha! Sucker. You done messed up. Anyway, so that's my demonstration of Call of Duty on the EX2710. Alright, so that's all I've got on my review of the Mobiuz EX2710 from BenQ. Really solid monitor, great for gaming, great refresh rate, all you could really ask for 1080p gaming at, I think, a pretty fair price of $299. It's not on the cheap side, it's not overly expensive, but if you're looking to stay in that 1080p arena, this gives you everything you could ask for. You can position the monitor how you want it, 1001 contrast ratio. We talked about it, this thing has it, and I think it's a really good monitor. So if you're interested in it, you can check out the link down in the description. You can go straight and check that out. If you have any questions or comments regarding the monitor or the review, please leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.